What we want to do is, from the speakers that we invite, we want to hear more, not only of your experience, but what you think of Malaysia, what we young people should value in this country, from your perspective, especially today, I'm sure you'll talk more about sports. See, and I'm a big believer that sports is one of those things which people in this country take for granted. It can be a huge uniting factor. I know people like Professor Kukekim. Kukekim, when he gives talks in the UK, he always talk about sports. Because he will always say, during his days, when Malaysia go against North Korea or South Korea, it's one of those things which everyone come together and we're all Malaysian. So I think maybe nowadays we don't really appreciate that much. Maybe tomorrow against Taiwan, all of a sudden become Malaysian like. So we must. So I think maybe some of you know that Mr. Shebby started his football career as a central defender for KLFA, Kuala Lumpur Football Association. His career in domestic football lasted 18 years, 1978 to 1996. Any of you born in 1978? I was born in 83. So he won every domestic honour, including Malaysia Cup, Malaysia FA Cup, and League Championship. After retirement from playing, Mr. Shebby continued his role for more than 10 years as a football analyst and commentator for the World Cup, Confederation Cup, European Cup, and English Premier League. He now appears as a football analyst on ESPN Star. So I think most of us have seen him on TV. Hopefully we can hear something new from him today. Mr. Shebby.
Alright. Thank you very much for inviting me. I'm very happy to be here. Actually I started my football career in Johor. I'm a Johorian, born and brought up in Keluang. That's news for Firdaus. And I started my football career in Johor in 78, transferred to KL at the end of 83 season, got suspended for 1 year, 84, for leaving Johor without permission. Orange upset me at me leaving. I played in KL until 1990. 91, I went to Pahang. 92, I played for Negeri Sembilan. 93, 94, 95, I came back to play for KL. And then 96, I was in Perak. But that's my football career. September 97, I started work on television. And I have just finished my 14th season of working on television. And for the first 4 with Astro Super Sport and the last 10 with ESPN Star Sports. I'm currently on a 3-year exclusive contract with ESPN Star Sports, so nobody is allowed to share me, which is good. But enough about me. Yes, we talk about sports in Malaysia and unity in diversity. Yes, I went to Wikipedia, and unity in diversity is the meaning of it is a slogan celebrating cooperation between different groups of people in a single society and socio-ecological philosophy that describes a sense of oneness despite physical or psychological barriers. Yes, lately there's been a lot of, we all read the papers, we all know what's happening. Somebody somewhere is trying to play the racial card. But I'm very, very sorry, I disagree with that, right? Sports unites, yet yes, it does. I was born in Keluang, and I shouldn't have played football because if you have a surname Singh, you're supposed to be a hockey player. I chose to play football, and for me, right, being a minority was a big advantage because whenever I went for football trials, when I was 10 years old, I went for my school trials, and you register yourself. Alright, there were at least 4 or 5 Muhammads, 3 or 4 Abduls, then there was Ali, Ahmad, and then there were a few Wongs, Tans, Lims on there, and there was only one Singh. So naturally the selectors are, siapa budak Bengali ni? They want to know. It's like, what's this Punjabi boy? Which one is he? What's he doing here? And it worked for me. It worked for me. So I don't understand why it can't work now. Anyway. As we go on, we'll talk about it. Yes, there are so many ways that we can use sport to unite the people. Yes, tomorrow night we're all going to be Malaysians. tonight might be somebody else, but tomorrow night we all going to be Malaysians because it is our country that's playing against Taiwan. And yes, those days it was literally like war. You know, the day after, if you had a bad result, you could tell. You could go to the office or you could go to training. You could tell. You could go to the coffee shops. You could tell the mood was not good. The coffee didn't taste the same. Why is it different now? Why should it be different now? Right? So again, there's so many ways you can do it. You know, you can to unite the people in sport. You can host major competitions or tournaments. Unfortunately, when we hosted the Commonwealth Games until today, apparently the books have not been closed. Anyway, that's another story. But this is what brings people together, right? We watch Malaysia play. Yes, we support Gunalan on the right wing. You know, we support Safiq Rahim in central midfield. Unfortunately, we don't have a Chinese, but we have a Chinese goalkeeper, Ape. That's what we call handle for me. so you know, tell your friend we have a Chinese in the team, right? And once again, I mean, you know, sports unite. When we look at other countries like Spain won the World Cup, right? Everybody gets excited. Yes, because everybody is of one race. Everybody is of one race, so that's easy to understand their sentiments. Because they belong, they are the locals. And then, you know, there are people of two different colors, for example. You go to America, you have the blacks and you have the whites, but they still celebrate whatever competition they play in, you know, they enjoy it. And we are in a unique position because we are multiracial, and we all celebrate together. And indeed, I can't think of anything else that will unite a nation like sport does. And where do we go from here? Let's not organize another major tournament because the climate is not right, you know, the competition. But having said that, you look at Singapore, they hosted the Youth Olympic Games. The budget was 100 million Sing dollars. It blew up to 300 million Sing dollars. So poor Vivian Balakrishnan, the sports minister, has to take the flag. But I think that money was used in this election. It happens everywhere, right? We talk about sport, and we look at certain sports, right? People say, oh, there's discrimination. But if you look at martial arts, the Chinese and the Indians are involved in martial arts. The Malays have their own martial arts, their silat, right? So I don't understand the discrimination. Of course, you have Malays in Taekwondo, in Karate, but maybe, you know, the Indians and the Chinese don't know anything about silat, so they don't get involved in silat. Maybe we need to rectify that. Maybe we need to have a national non-Malay silat competition or something like that, so we get more people participating and coming together. You look at the racket sports, badminton, squash. There's a lot of Chinese who play that. You know, occasionally you have the Indians or some Malays. So that's another way of looking at it and thinking, why is that so? And I think it's got to do something. It's got to do with economy, right? It's easier, or rather, let's say the Chinese, you know, who have a better economic situation, will go out and rent the courts and play, whereas the rest, you know, have. So what I'm saying here is, I don't think there's discrimination. Football, for so many years now, and I'm sick and tired of reading about it and listening to it, where people say, oh, a certain race is dominating football. I don't think so. Oh, that's the reason why the standard of football has dropped. I don't think so. I think there's so many other contributing factors. I think if you're good enough, you will be. Hey, look at me. You know, a young kid from Keluang. Well, most of you possibly haven't even heard of Keluang until now. You know, I made it. But did I have any problems? No, not at all. So this is where I think, you know, we've got to be objective and say, you look at Singapore, right? I just watched the Lion City Cup. The under 15 team, the Singapore under 15 team, they only had one Indian boy in the team, and they had no Chinese players. In the under 15 team, they had two teams, mind you. They had an under 16 team and an under 15 team. The under 15, one Indian boy and the rest are all Malays. So is there discrimination against the Chinese in Singapore? On the other hand, don't forget that apparently Singapore belongs to the Chinese.